The time has finally come. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our first build video. So a handful of you guys have been asking about my builds in general from my account reviews, talking about how I grinded all the weapons, maxed them all out, got all the descendants. To kick things off for our builds, we're going to start here with Ultimate Gley. Now, this is a very fitting build to be the first one as it's very in season. There's lots of controversial talk going on around with the new invasion dungeons that have been added in season 1 of the first Descendant, and I'm happy to tell you guys this build here I believe may be the single best all-around build for every single invasion dungeon. There has yet to be one released that I have not been able to very comfortably get gold score on using this build, and I want to share it with you guys here today. It's a pretty simple build as far as its use case goes. It doesn't take skill per se, I guess, but you do kind of need to have some knowledge of Gley. You got to be comfortable on her and you got to know how to use her skills in different given situations. But let's hop right in here and kick things off with the Ultimate Gley solo invasion dungeon build. So the general build that this is based off of is the Rocket Gley. Rocket Gley is no stranger to the community. I think a lot of people know about Rocket Gley. This is probably my favorite way to play Gley, the main way to play her, or my main way I play her. And let's break down what we got going on here. So first, let's hop to the reactor and external components. Minimum requirements for a reactor, literally skill cooldown. Any gold skill cooldown on any reactor you can get, doesn't matter if it's purple, doesn't matter what the mounting is. The glory of this build is it's not focused on skill damage whatsoever, so we can ignore all of that. So it's actually really easy to get a reactor for this. So the reactor I use is a cooldown duration up. I'd say that this is one of the best in slot combos for this. You could probably also roll with cooldown and maybe HP recovery modifier or heal modifier. Actually, maybe not, because I think the HP heal modifier is an outgoing heal thing, not an incoming heal thing. So let's just say cooldown and duration is the combo you want. Annihilation auxiliary power, nothing new here. Annihilation is just meant for Gley. The extra duration off of here is nice, at least the two-piece set. Now the 4-piece set here, as far as I'm aware, rockets do not gain the advantage of the firearm attack increase as they are considered explosive attack. And there's a really weird thing in the game where some firearm attack boosts do apply to the rockets, some don't. I've done some testing in the laboratory and it's honestly a toss-up between things if it does or does not work. But regardless of that, the when you're lower than 50% HP recovery boost is nice anyways. So I still rock the full 4-piece set. Gley actually has one of the better 4-piece sets in the game as you get double defense and double HP on here. Now let's talk about substats. First and foremost, most important, HP. You want to get the single best HP roll you can on here. Secondarily, fire resistance, DBNO duration, down but not out duration, is probably your next best in slot thing to have on there. But you mainly want the highest HP you can possibly get on the Annihilation auxiliary. Secondly, moving into the Annihilation sensor. Now, I think I got really lucky here. HP recovery modifier and chill resistance both apply to Gley. Now, the second piece is a hard one to get stuff that works for Gley because there's a lot of MP related things on the sensor and Gley doesn't use MP. So I think these are the two best in slot stats you want here for combat. HP recovery modifier, chill resist. So for the memory, once again, I think I kind of just have best in slot for Gley here, defense and just electric resistance. Now the resistances are, you know, only occasionally applied, you know, depending on the type of enemies you're fighting, depending on the type of colossi you're doing. Obviously, we're talking about invasion dungeons here, so like the enemies, you know, I usually don't even feel the difference whether I have resistance or not in like general combat. I usually only really feel like I kind of need resistance occasionally in boss fights. But yeah, once again, there's a lot of shield-based things on here, and once again, Gley doesn't have a shield. So defense, electric resistance, if you can get one of those rolled, bada boom, bada bang. If you only have one of the stats, get the best defense you can on this stat. And for this one, I'd say probably get the best HP recovery modifier you can. And for the processor, well, this processor has shield on there, so obviously that is void, but having good toxin resist on here is not bad. And honestly, there's not really many things that go well for Gley on here. The processor has max shield, shield recovery modifier, and then it's just got like general farming things like equipment drop rate boost. I think it's got like a sieve display time Something else it has, though, is item acquisition distance modifier, and I think that actually might be the best in slot. What I believe item acquisition distance modifier means is drops on the floor, including health, if I'm not mistaken, you can grab from a little bit further away, and that's nice in the heat of combat. So I would say go for item acquisition distance or equipment drop rate increase. Either one of those is fine, along with, you know, get the resistance, and that'll cover your bases for the most part. Now let's get into the good stuff, the Descendant Modules. If we open things up in here, so this is the main setup for my solo invasions that I use. Just last night, actually, I tested around with Predator Instinct, and I was talking about how rockets sometimes do, sometimes don't take advantage of firearm attack increases, but without Predator Instinct on here. So Gley gets a 15% firearm attack and explosive attack increase on here. It has both of them on there stated, so rockets and all other weapons gain effect from her being frenzied. Obviously, that's a no-brainer, but in this state, it doesn't have the explosive attack on here. It has firearm attack increase, but it has a level 2 bump that you can get on it by firing for a certain duration of time. Now, I took this into the laboratory, and when I tested this on here, within the first second of shooting, I had 1 damage value on my rocket. My rocket bumped up not once, but twice. So I feel like it got the level 1 and level 2 increase to damage on the rocket as well, even though it only claims to be a firearm attack increase. I think this one, for whatever reason, also applies explosive attack boost. So I think this is worth it. But honestly, if I wasn't using this, there's not really any Transcendent mod on here that super synergizes with here. I did have massive sanguification on here, so this could kind of dub over as like a, you know, I could pop Massacre if I wanted to type deal. But I think Predator Instinct might be best for this. So moving on from there, this build is all about making your cooldown and your duration overlap for endless use of her 3 abilities. So if we look at this here, we have a 7.4 second cooldown and a 9.6 second duration. Now, if you don't have duration on the reactor, I believe this is a 9.1 second. And without cooldown on there, it's actually like a 10 plus second cooldown. So as you can see, if you don't have a cooldown on your reactor, you're not going to have the overlap here. So we can test that real quickly. If we if we swap off this doesn't have any cooldown or duration. So if we go to look at this now, as you can see, 10.3 with the 9.1, it's not bad. You know, it's a second of downtime, but ideally you don't want downtime. You want to be able to pop it again before it ever runs out, so you could just keep pumping damage if you need to. Also, you don't need to upgrade the reactor at all. I upgraded this like literally right before this, just so I don't look like a noob without an unupgraded reactor, but literally the skill damage on this does not have any effect on here. So we have 4 cooldown mods. We have both the focus on mods, which each give a 6.1% cooldown. We have MP conversion, which gives us a 36% skill cooldown and a max MP reduction, which doesn't affect Gley. Big W there. And we got the other cooldown mods. So 4 cooldown mods. And we have 2 duration mods. We have maximize duration, skill duration plus 40%, skill power modifier reduction. Once again, doesn't matter. We're not using skill power here. This is all about our firearm attack is what's dealing damage here. And we have the base duration mod here as well. That's what gets us up to the 9.1 second duration. And then I get another half second off having duration on there. On the reactor. Now, when it comes to, I was talking about firearm attack boost and stuff, shot focus. I did try shot focus with rockets in the past, and I do not believe I gained the benefits of it, unless something has changed since then with shot focus. But shot focus, like, could have been another like candidate of an item to throw in here just to get a little damage boost. But honestly, the way I have this set up, I'm super happy with it, and I don't think I'd want to change anything in here anyways. We have 2 HP mods. We got our base blue HP mod, and then you could pick your poison with purple mods depending on how much you need. I like having the maximum HP on here. It just feels really good like that. We are literally over 20,000 health. 20,200, so that's very nice. This mod here is a big game changer as well. Maximize conservation. So this reduces the skill cost of Gley's abilities by 35% with another skill power modifier reduction, but once again, doesn't matter. We don't care about skill power here. So like, we can get maximum values for all this stuff without any negative effects. Now, if we look at this, this normally costs 5% to cast, and it doesn't matter how much HP you have, it's a 5% chunk no matter what. So dropping this down to 3%, as you can imagine, is very nice. It's very nice to make this cheaper. You can pop it a lot more without eating through your health so much. But honestly, almost none of that matters when it comes to HP collector. This is the golden egg of this build. HP collector brings this together the way MP collector brings together other mobbing builds for other characters. HP collector is the difference maker in this build. Literally, I was doing something earlier and I had my other, like, a wrong Gley build on that didn't have HP collector in there, and I flopped. I was like, what the fuck was that? And then I checked and I was like, oh, okay, I had the wrong thing on. Yeah, HP collector, this is like the most important thing I'd say to have in this build. This is what makes this go round. This costs 3% of our HP. Every kill gives us 9% HP back every 2 seconds. Whenever you pop this, one kill more than recovers the HP that you lost from that, plus any HP you may be taking damage from. And when this has a duration of 9.6 seconds, almost 10 seconds, that's nearly 5 procs of HP collector you can get in one use of this. So for just a 3.5% cost, yeah, 3.2% cost of your HP, you can actually gain 9 times 5, 45% of your HP back for the cost of 3%. So it's very efficient to keep Gley's health up. This is insane for keeping Gley alive. And when you have like 20k health, the 9% out of a 20k health pool makes the chunk you get back crazy. Like almost 2,000 health per kill coming back is like, it's hard to die. It's hard to die if there's mobs to kill. In 1v1 situations with bosses, sometimes it gets a little dicey, but once again, having the max, like the super girthy HP pool with a double maximum mods on here is very nice. I use mid-air maneuvering just because whenever you pop this, you get really slow, especially holding a rocket. Like rocket's already slow and then you get another movement decrease. So I'm always rolling around. I'm using my mid-air grapple. You see me doing it a lot in gameplay and stuff. So yeah, mid-air maneuvering is my one of choice, as well as mid-air maneuvering I think is just best in slot in general use. The only time mid-air maneuvering is questionable is during a intercept battle. If you try and go grab a shoulder on a boss, if you miss, it uses your grapple and then you gotta wait for it to cool down to try again, and it's a whole fiasco. So I've gone through so much pain of like having this on in a boss fight and be like, god dang it, I need to put the other one on, blah blah blah, and then never change it and whatever. I got over it eventually, but yeah. Mid-air is king. Mid-air is honestly the GOAT. I also have a budget version of this build if you don't have as much investment into Gley. As you can see, like I have all these slots maxed out. We're at 84 out of 85. But yeah, this is like heavily invested Gley, but you can get away with this build on a very low investment Gley as well. And I believe this should also work on normal Gley. Normal Gley will just like not have quite as much defense as Ultimate Gley, maybe a little bit less HP, but there's nothing restricts this to being Ultimate Gley exclusive. This mod itself, if you happen to have it, accessible by both. Even in my budget setup, I don't even have Predator Instinct. So if you don't have the Transcendent mod, don't stress it. But it is like a nice little damage bump. But like I said, I wasn't even using this mod in this build until literally yesterday. I put it out and tried it and was like, okay, I think it actually does give you like a little bump. But even before I was using this, when I just had massive sanguification on there, which wasn't really doing anything for my build, like I still was just tearing through these things. This is what a budget setup would look like for this. So as you can see, we're at 65 out of 85 module capacity here. Technically for this setup, you don't have to have these leveled up because the skill cooldown is all we really want off of these, and that doesn't increase as you level this up. So you can put the 0 upgraded non-attribute and dimension mods in here, and this would be perfectly fine. Honestly, even if you don't have that non-attribute and dimension ones, you can toss any other focus mod in here and just get that cooldown and be fine. Like I said, none of the skill power matters. But obviously it's good to be on brand with your character, because like if you wanted to transition this into Massacre someday, you would want these, and then you would want them leveled up for skill power. So it's just smartest to have this as well as the sockets on here. Speaking of sockets, so this is 5 M sockets. It is 2 C sockets, 2 R sockets, and 1 X socket. Now, if you look at Gley's base, Gley starts with 2 M's. It was originally a C here, and then she starts with an R. So all of her original sockets are in use here. You don't have to organize them like I did. I'm a maniac when it comes to this. So I literally I didn't need to overlap this C with an X, but I wanted my ultimate mod to be top mid, so it's nice and balanced. The other differences in the budget setup, rather than these being upgraded, is over here. So we're using a cheaper cost mod. If you can't squeeze in this mod right here, maximize conservation for the 35% skill cost, you can use a cheaper one here. Or if you don't have that mod, then you can use this one as well. Optionally, if you want a little bit more cost reduction and are still balling on the budget with space, but you have the mod, Down here, you can also use maximize efficiency. So this gives 15.8% skill cost reduction. This is 15.2, so it's minimal increase, but it's still more, and it's at no detriment to Gley as minus max MP. Who cares? Gley doesn't use that. She's the best. This is the budget setup here. You could also throw Predator Instinct in here if you have more space as well. But like I said, the idea of this was, you know, to create a setup that if you guys don't have as deep investment in your either normal Gley or your ultimate Gley, you could still hopefully make this build work for yourself with as little investment as possible. But as you can imagine, the main setup is just, it clears in how hard it is to truly die. But you know, this works. This bridges the gap until you can get her there. For all my budget ballers out there, I got you guys covered. Don't worry. Other than these focus mods over here, I think it's pretty important to have all the other mods maxed all the way out. So like I said, this is kind of the best I can do as far as making this cheap and still being what I would say is effective and probably useful for what we're talking about here, which is soloing the invasion dungeons. Let's get to what makes this build tick. The rocket. So vestigial organ, once again, this thing is no stranger to being known with the rocket Gley setup. I originally built this rocket to be for bossing, for rocket Gley bossing, and I chose to chase fire attack as the ice bosses are the #1 offenders of being the noob killers, right? But we're not here to talk about bossing. So let's move on to what I would probably set up for this rocket if you want it solely for mobbing. I swap out just all the fire mods or electric mods. And obviously my rocket's not fully built out yet. There's definitely some other mods that would make this more beneficial, but like I've used this for a while now and I just haven't gotten around to maxing this out yet. But for now, this works. I would probably go with electric on the rocket, like I said, because if you don't know, electric attack and electric element, when you inflict electrocution, it makes the enemies take damage over time. They suffer weakened defense, which less defense means they take a little bit more damage. And they get dazed, so maybe it stuns them or prevents them from attacking you. I'm not too sure, honestly. But yeah, electric is probably what I'd say general use would be good for mobbing is. And then if we're talking about readjustment here, which one are we looking at here? So yeah, as you can see, so explosive attack, this one you would have on here no matter what element of your choice. So if you're building this for mobbing and go with the electric route, electric attack on here. Attribute status effect trigger rate, absolute necessary. So the status effect trigger rate on this rocket is very good. So it's I think it's like a 33% trigger rate. So we're over 40% trigger rate. So crit on this thing is like almost non-existent. Crit damage is non-existent. And then weak point doesn't really have a multiplier as well. But after you build into firearm attack in your element, weak point is kind of like the next thing in line on how you would build this rocket out. Because you do actually do more damage to weak points with a rocket, as weird as it seems. This is how the vestigial organ is built out here. Like I said, not too much investment. I only have 4 catalysts in here. These are all maxed out in here without even having any socketing on them. In fact, let's see here. How much of a budget baller could we make this? Okay, so you can get away with only 2 catalysts and make this thing work. And all of these other mods that I use on here, you could get away with not even having them on here. The weak point is, like I said, that's kind of like the next extra step on there. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I'd say. Have 2 catalysts in here, get your damage mods, pick your elemental mods, and fire rate. Fire rate obviously lets Gley spam it a lot more, shoot more total rounds within the time that she can use it. But that's the rocket loadout there. Now let's talk about the seasonal artifact thing, whatever it's called in this game. Inversion Reinforcement. Sorry, my destiny is showing. Hunt, the very first mod, top left mod, is best in slot. I think this is the best in slot mod for this entire season for every character. When defeating an enemy, grants biodensity augmentation. Max HP plus 4.7%, 5 stacks. Bro, that's 23% more HP about. Pretty much up at all times. Killing 5 enemies is not hard. It's not hard to have this stacked, and it lasts for 30 seconds. So as long as you get another kill within 30 seconds, you keep max stacks. If you've seen any of my other invasion dungeon runs, you see like a ×5 of like this little mouth thing. That's what this is. So even more HP on top of our 20k is insane. And if you max out the hunt, you can get this over here. Now, just by having this active, and I have tested as well, it's not having it slotted. When this says when an augmentation effect is active, because down here it says activation details, Just having it slotted does not mean it's active. It has to be on and going. So you have to get a kill to trigger this. But at all times, as long as you've had a kill in the last 30 seconds, you have more incoming damage reduction. 4%. Doesn't sound like much, but it adds up when you're taking a lot of heat. So yeah, this is an absolute no-brainer. Level this up, get to this as soon as you can. Now, another one I use, this one isn't as good for Gley, but I kind of have this as a general use one for now for just all my characters in general. The first two are like MP recovery based ones, but there is one at the bottom, 10% chance to recover HP, a little bit of HP. So it's not much, but it's something. And then moving down into survival, this is what I'd say is the second most important. So for survival, all these invasion dungeons have, you know, a different, legion of enemies, Legion of Immortality, Order of Truth, or the Legion of Darkness. So upgrading through survival here will give you another 15% reduced damage taken from those enemies once every 25 seconds. Basically a 20-second cooldown on here. If you did not know, the cooldowns start on these the moment they proc. So the moment you get the 5 seconds of reduction, that 25-second timer is already going. So by the time your 5 seconds of damage reduction falls off, it's 20 seconds until it will proc again. So yeah, another 15% on there. It doesn't hurt. Every so often getting that in there helps. You know, it keeps that HP up a little bit more so you can get another kill, get HP collector going, all that. From what I've heard, they're going to be doing some updates to this and they're getting rid of the negative effects and potentially even buffing some of these abilities even more. Now, this final one at the bottom of season down here, this can make this build even better once the negative effect is gone. When movement speed is 300 or less, which rocket is already slow, and then when you proc infinite ammo, like you're an absolute dead weight, can barely, like, that's why I'm always hopping around on Gley and stuff, because you can barely move, and your movement speed is definitely below 300 in that state. Now, whenever you're in that active state, it would make your skill cost reduce by another 20%. So that's another 20% on top of the 35 we're already taking off. Gley's ability would cost like less than 2.5% of her HP, between 2 and 2.5% HP with this on. So once they get rid of the negative effects on here, this could be best in slot for this Gley setup as well. The reason I don't put this on is negative fire rate is just a no-no. Maybe in the future, I think on Thursday this week, I think, right, today is Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. So tomorrow, maybe this will be insane, because I think they were going to update all this then. Having this over here, this is Void Intercept Battle Base. We're talking about invasions. So most important thing for invasions, this, and then that's just kind of a third one I have for now, but I think this would be the third best in slot. And I think that is the general overview complete of the setup. What I want to do is showcase. I want to go run an invasion dungeon for you guys here on the setup, just to show you guys it in action and kind of explain to you the gameplay process and gameplay loop of how this works. Like if you don't have experience on Gley, haven't ran Gley, or just aren't comfortable with it, or, you know, don't exactly know the loop of it. You don't know, Gley kind of has 8 abilities. So, well, actually, nah, we'll say 7. She's got 7 abilities. So her first ability, you know, she's got Frenzy and Non-Frenzy, and then depending on if you're in Frenzy or Non-Frenzy, it changes every single other ability of hers to be different. So we're going to disrupt the Asylum, Heart of the Fortress up here. I've ran each of them once today so far. This one's a little faster, so we'll do this one for the sake of time on the video and stuff. And this Heart of the Fortress one, honestly, I'm kind of scared of that one, dude. That one, I actually had to put a few runs into that one, I'm not gonna lie. I posted a video on this one though. If you guys want to see the gold run of that, check the video out on my channel. But let's do Asylum here, and I'll talk you through, I guess, my gameplay loop and what I'm doing as we do this here. And we're gonna go for the 7-minute 11 gold time here on this setup. Oh, also, so I have Colossus damage on the rocket. You could probably put like recoil reduction, or you could put weapon swap speed, something like that on the rocket for mobbing as well. But if you do plan on wanting to use it for bossing as well, then Colossus is fine. Like, you don't really need anything extra for mobbing. But let's hop in here and let's do this thing. I'll show you guys the fundamentals of how I go through here. So I feel like something that people kind of sleep on is Gley actually has a movement speed increase ability, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's as fast as VS's Frost Road. It's like an 1120 movement speed bump when you're not holding the rocket. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, we spawn in here. We're right at the spawn, so we're gonna go ahead and we pop into Frenzy Mode. Frenzy Mode is how you get infinite ammo. So you want Frenzy Mode on a majority of the time, but we pop that. So we got field goal 1. Okay. Let's hop up here. But yeah, basically whenever this is off, I do this every so often. I just pop some enemies, you know, we get that HP collector every 2 seconds. But we're mainly focused on getting these things. So we had field goal 1, and then we got buff guy 2. I'm like multitasking right now, I swear to God. Here we go. This should work. Hopefully I don't get scammed. All right, we're good. We're good. So we grab that. Now after we grab that, I drop out of frenzy, and then I pop the infinite ammo thing because this boosts her movement speed. If we look at her movement speed here, 1040 movement speed with this on. So don't sleep on that. But for these, so we do this. Pro tip on this thing. Before it fully decharges, you can shoot it again to shoot it a bit quicker. So that saves some time on here. But then, yeah, once we go back into combat, basically combat is always frenzy mode. She has less HP recovery in frenzy mode, but with HP collector, it literally doesn't matter. So you can just stay frenzy mode at all times, heal up. You can grab stuff off the floor. Hold on, I'm not paying attention. Was there a symbol up here? All right, we got triangle 2. Triangle 2, so we got to find one other symbol on here. For the most of the time on these missions, I can get away with doing 2 symbols. On the Heart of the Fortress mission, however, I had to do 3. We got buff guy 2, buff guy 4, triangle 2. So it's not that one. Excuse me, pillar. Get out of my way. So we have, is this triangle 2, buff guy 4? Is this what it was? I might be fucking this up. Oh no. It might be the other way around. No, trust the process. Let's go. All right. I thought I mixed them up. I'm trying to like talk about what I'm doing as well as like focusing on the mech. It's kind of, it's a little dicey, but we'll make it work, you know? We'll make it work. This build's just so good that I can like be messing up, but still be fine. So 2 minutes through the first room. And honestly, this isn't as fast as it could be. Obviously, we're not as focused on the objective here. But yeah, and then in between zones, I drop out of frenzy. I pop the sprint speed. You can swap back to a different movement weapon if you want as well. But we got cup 3. What do we have here? Come on, Gley. The hitboxes on stuff are so weird in this game sometimes, like enemies and stuff. You get stuck when it feels like you shouldn't. So cup 3, cup 3, cup 3. Let's just shoot some of these guys around here real quick. Get a little bit of HP collect in there. So it was cup 3, right? Cup 3, cup 3, cup 3. Keep saying it to myself. Oh no. So when you grapple, do not jump after the grapple if your infinite ammo's on, because it slows you down. But you can carry the momentum if you don't jump. All right, we got Wiener 1, cup 3. Wiener 1, cup 3. What's up, bruh? All right, that's Wiener 4. Is this Wiener 1, cup 3? There we go. That should be our first one for here. Nice chunk of enemies there. Take care of them, no big deal. All right, drop frenzy. Let's get our movement buff going. Let's sprint over here. So I also tried infinite ammo on this gun. Let's do it here real quick. So if I pop infinite ammo, it does not affect this weapon, unfortunately. Otherwise, you could get through this with 1 gun on Gley through the door, but it takes 3 shots per eyeball to pop. So, and in my opinion, these are the most complex invasion dungeons mechanic wise. The next most complex is probably the ones that have the colors you got to do. Those can be a little annoying sometimes. All right, we got buff guy 2, but it's probably good that I have this one to showcase because this is probably the one people struggle with most, if I guessed. So buff guy 2, come on baby. What do we got? Buff guy 2, field goal 1. Field goal 1, buff guy 2. Field goal 1, buff guy 2. Field goal 1, buff guy 2. Here we go. Field goal 1, buff guy 2. If you didn't know, so the 1 dot is 1, the 2 dots 2, and so on and so forth. I think they're going to make those vertical as well, so you can see them like from all angles in the update too, so that'll be nice. And I think after the update, you're supposed to be able to get through this door with 1 gun as well. So they're only going to get easier from here. But like I said, this build makes the unchanged invasion dungeons already easy enough. So once they do change them, then you'll surely be flying through these things. No issues whatsoever. So final room. So for the boss room, basically same deal, but we only need 1 gun because you only need to shoot the boss 3 times, thankfully. So we just need to get 1 more set of these done and we'll be good. So let's lock in here, not throw. We got triangle 3, so it won't be that one. Triangle 3, triangle 3. Triangle 3, cup 2, cup 2, triangle 3, cup 2, triangle 3. Cup 2, triangle 3. Cup 2, triangle 3. Here we go. Also, if you pause and unpause in this room, it fixes the lighting. If you have lighting issues in here and wonder why it's so flashbangy, That's why. No, don't do it. Oh, I'm frozen. You busted. This guy's being cheeky. All right, 1, 2, 3. Pop this. And it's go time, baby. Oh, don't jump up there, man. You're gonna make it slightly harder for me to hit you. Oh, did he cock block mine? Oh, we're good. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, he's hurting me. Ah! Almost through there, but I was kind of trolling, honestly. Like I said, not too locked in on this run, but even then, like, you know, 5 minutes, 58 seconds, plenty of time to spare. You know, I was a bit careless there, like not moving out of the enemy's attacks and stuff. But as you can see, like, this build has margin for error, and you can still succeed. As long as you can, like, pull off the mechanics, this build's got you covered survivability-wise, combat-wise. You pump. 5 minutes, 58 seconds. There's our 3 drops for reinforced cell DNA. And like I said, this build has not failed me yet in any of the invasion dungeons. So far, there's been 9 unique ones. There's 13 total ones in the game. So there's 4 more dungeons that have not released in the game yet. But when they do, you best believe I'm gonna have a gameplay video for them as well, if you guys, you know, want to check them out. And I'm gonna be using this build for the rest of them, just to, you know, show its viability across all of them. But I think that that for the most part is gonna wrap things up here for the build, guys. So what better spot to be than the end of the dungeon when we wrap things up here for our solo invasion dungeon Gley build. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, this is the build on display. We got a budget build for you guys. The reactor's super easy for this. Annihilation's easy to farm. Like, this is a very accessible build. So I hope it doesn't work you guys too hard to get this set up if you don't really have Gley going. But like I said, normal Gley, ultimate Gley, all works. But much love, guys, and I will catch you guys in the next video.